In the eyes of the law, you aren't exactly who you think you are. When the state interacts with you, it isn't speaking to the physical, breathing human, it's addressing a completely different entity. This is the legal fiction. It's an artificial construct, often referred to in specialized legal circles as a straw man, created to hold property, manage liability, and classify you within a massive grid of rules and regulations. These constructs, much like corporations or trusts, are useful tools. They allow a system built on paperwork to track obligations that a flesh and blood human couldn't carry alone. But this entire structure relies on one thing: a valid foundation. If the initial process used to create this legal entity was flawed, every obligation built on top of it begins to lean. To see what happens when a legal foundation fails, we have to look at a robbery case from Florida, where police used a Find My iPhone app to track suspects without a warrant. This document traces the investigation. It highlights the moment officers conducted an investigatory stop based on real-time tracking, without a warrant. The court focused on a single point. Because the initial tracking was warrantless, there was no legal basis for the secondary search. Because that secondary search was born from an illegal act, everything found inside, and every statement made by the suspects afterward, was thrown out of court. The state lost its ability to prosecute because it violated the rules at the very start of the chain. This wasn't a fluke. It's a strict application of the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, a rule that prevents the government from using evidence obtained through illegal conduct. Think of the initial illegal act as toxic roots. Once the tree is poisoned, the law assumes that every piece of fruit growing from its branches, the secondary evidence, is tainted and unusable. This appellate record shows the court citing Wong Sun v. United States. It establishes that under the Fourth Amendment, a search that starts with a violation cannot end with a valid conviction. The doctrine creates a hard boundary. If the origin point is corrupt, the state loses its authority to act on anything that follows. This logic that a corrupt start invalidates the finish is the bridge between criminal law and the complex world of civil contracts. If the legal fiction addressed by the state was created through misrepresentation or without true consent, proponents of this theory argue the tree was poisoned at the moment of its planting. This connects to the Clearfield Doctrine. It suggests that when a government engages in commerce, using things like Dunn's numbers or corporate fictions, it is no longer acting as a sovereign power, but as a private corporation. As a private actor, the state is bound by the rules of contracts. If it built its authority on a fraudulent foundation, it loses its sovereign immunity and its right to enforce jurisdiction over the individual's estate. This is why consent matters. If the obligations of the straw man were never voluntarily accepted by the human being, the link between the two is broken. Just like the Florida case, if the state's claim starts with a violation of rights, it loses the power to demand a result. When a legal action is discovered to have a fraudulent foundation, it is declared void ad initio. In plain English, it means the action is null and void from the very beginning. This isn't just a technicality. It is the legal recognition that the entire reality the state tried to build, whether a criminal charge or a commercial debt, simply does not exist. The law cannot construct a valid debt or a valid conviction on top of a lie. This document represents the original root of all authority in this system. If the state deviates from this origin point, it cuts itself off from its own power. If the tree is poisoned, the fruit is ash. You have no legal or moral duty to accept the consequences of a corrupt beginning.